Hi everyone, and welcome from a slightly damp and dark and cold UK morning to our fourth Asia Pacific marketing community call. As I'm sure most of you will know, I'm Paul Cunningham, Chief Marketing Officer, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's session. I'm going to start with a brief welcome and introduction, as well as a quick look back at some of what we believe are the success stories of FY21 around the world. We'll then move into our main agenda, and Runa is going to give us an update on the Voice of the Partner program, which is progressively being rolled out to all of our regions, and we'll share with you both the goals of the program and how we're using the usability technology that underpins it to deliver these measurements and feedback and benefits to the business. We'll then hear briefly from Bex Ellis on two of our core programs, Venue, as we're experiencing today for virtual events, and our Empower digital marketing training program. I'm then really pleased to say that we're going to be joined by Maria Bretti from Comstore Europe's business to tell us about the success they've had with their small business program. And she'll be in conversation with Runa, so that'll be quite an interactive session. We'll close, of course, with our Market Star recognition for one of the individuals in the region that we think has performed extremely well, according to the acclaim of their colleagues just recently. And then I'll wrap up the session with some a view on our FY22 priorities and some closing remarks, as well as a look forward to a key event for the community that's coming up in Q1. I would remind you that at any time during today's call, you can use the Q&A chat window to the right of your screen to enter your questions for us, and we'll address those in the Q&A panel later on in the session, but you can put those in at any time. I wanted to start with a welcome for new starters in the organization. There's been a fair bit of change recently as we've looked to expand and enhance the team, both centrally and in the regions as well. To start, Alexandra Moskovsky has joined us as a marketing automation specialist in the central marketing team with Runa. And of course, this is an important area for us as we move from Pardot to Marketo. And Alexandra has significant business-to-business experience with marketing automation, including very specifically the Marketo platform. So she'll be a great addition to the team. Renee Lay has joined us in New Zealand as part of Rochelle's team as a marketing coordinator, a recent graduate with graphics design experience. She's going to be focusing on marketing as a service and channel partner marketing programs as part of the team down there. Reddy Matlu joins us as a web content specialist in the central team. As you know, there's a lot of activity around web in the near term, and having somebody who can really think about how we adapt our content to that format and improve usage and traffic on the website is going to be a big addition to the team. In your own region, Narissa Heng joins us from Canon as a senior marketing executive. She was a senior marketing officer there prior to joining Westcon, and she'll be looking after some of the Westcon portfolio as part of the team in Singapore. Elsewhere in the world of content, Claire Milroy, again based in South Africa and part of the central team, joins us to focus on both corporate branding type content, as well as some of the line of business vendor programs that are requiring more and more digital content as we go forward. And finally, we have a new marketing apprentice in EMEA in the vendor marketing team. Shannon Flanagan joins us, and we'll have a particular focus on Palo Alto as part of Carmen Ehret's team going forward. As well as our new starters, we've got some movers as well. You might be aware that as part of our studio enhancement and expansion plan, we've effectively absorbed members from what was the South African design studio into the central studio. So Daniel Odendahl and Chantel Titus join us in those graphic design roles as part of that expanded studio team. I already mentioned Carmen Ehret, who's our EMEA marketing director for cybersecurity and next generation solutions in EMEA. Carmen took the role on about a month ago and has already delivered a really effective virtual event in the form of our Imagine Europe event that took place just last week. And we had over 1,000 delegates over the 3 half-day sessions with some really fantastic speakers, great vendor panel sessions, some really great insight into that marketplace. So she's really set the marker quite significantly for future success in that role. Finally, in the central team, Michelle Temelis, who's been with the business for some time, joins us from the digital transformation team. And Michelle, quite topically, given our conversation today, is going to be responsible for running the Voice of the Partner program from a central perspective. And finally, Lisa Maguire also joins us from the digital transformation team as a program manager. You can imagine with all of these initiatives and programs that we're rolling out around the world and within the central team, the provision of some support for project management is a key element of what we're going to be doing in future. So it's very, very welcome to see Lisa joining the team. As I said earlier in my introduction, I just wanted to run through a few of the highlights as we see them of FY21 so far. It seems a long time ago now that we first had to contend with the circumstances of COVID and everything that went with it. In Europe in particular, we made a really effective response with our Stay Safe and Stay Connected campaign. It was remarkable for two reasons. Firstly, it was incredibly quickly executed, a really effective response to what was happening. We saw teams across the brands, across borders, across product groups, really collaborating very, very effectively to build a well-integrated set of communications and promotions that really saw a fantastic response. And if you look at the rates of engagement and certainly the business performance that we saw across those product groups, well, I think we can claim that Stay Safe and Stay Connected was both an effective response to the situation, but also a successful campaign in its own right. At the same time, we've seen significant growth in the use of our intelligent demand services. Obviously, we get access to the reports on how the service is being used. There's a very comprehensive dashboard that we have available for the business to consult and see what's going on. And so far, since its launch in the beginning of FY21, the ID program has generated about $21 million in attributable revenue through the programs that we've delivered through it, and probably that 1.3 million of gross margin as a result of that as well. So we continue to see its growth. We're adapting it to suit the needs of the market better. I think there'll be a stronger focus on the kind of account-based marketing aspects of it in future, but it's already proven its worth. And if you haven't yet experienced the Intelligent Demand program and what it can do, then I'd suggest that you get in touch with the team and start looking at that. Of course, one of the things that we had to pivot to very quickly as well was virtual events. And you'll be hearing more from Bex later about Venue and the success we've had with it, so I'm not going to steal their thunder. But to my mind, virtual events and potentially a combination of virtual and physical into hybrid events is likely to be here to stay. So we have to get to grips with that. We have to understand what the possibilities are. And again, if you haven't yet got an understanding of what Venue and virtual event planning can do for you, then I suggest that you speak with Bex as quickly as possible and get an understanding of what we can deliver in this regard. In your own region, Seamus and the team in Australia with their Elevate program, we saw a lot of creativity going into that program, some real innovation, and as a result, some really strong partner engagement. And we're now, taking elements of that and promoting them around other parts of the Comstore world, so people can understand what a really effective partner engagement and metrics program can look like. We'll be hearing more from Maria later on Comstore Small Business, but again, I think that's an example of a program that combined, really good vendor alignment with a lot of creativity to start to deliver some significant benefits both to us, to Cisco, and to our partners. So again, I'll let Maria explain that a little bit more in her interview with Runa. In the world of Palo Alto, again, starting in your own region, we saw the investment around these learning labs. The idea that we could get sort of just in time, very focused, very targeted and effective training and learning in front of new and prospective partners, Palo Alto, in pretty short order. And again, a great deal of creativity and thought went into those programs. And it helped us really start to put us on the map with Palo Alto this year. I think we've moved from being a kind of, average distributor to now being regarded as something of a superstar by Palo Alto. And the awards we've won globally and the feedback we're getting from the Palo Alto team are more indications of that. In the security world, again with Comstore, the Scale Play initiative around the Comstore Security Initiative, Cisco Security Initiative, has been extremely effective. And we know that cybersecurity is hot right now. On the Westcon side of the house, the launch of our Next Generation Solutions, or NGS initiative in Europe, which again was fully explored in the Imagine event last week, has been a very effective balance on the Westcon side to that as a response to that cybersecurity opportunity. For all of the reasons that we recognize, whether it's COVID, digital transformation, the move to flexible working, cybersecurity is without question our hottest market right now. And both ScalePlay and NGS, as kind of mirrors of each other across the Westcon Comstor axis, are both really effective demonstrations of what we can do in that space. And finally, in our global customer segment, we launched the Orbit initiative, Our Reach Beyond IT, which, as you'll probably recognize, is our kind of wrapper or brand for all of the value propositions that we believe offer significant opportunity for our global customers. And that work continues. There's a kind of refresh going on around the brand and the propositions in Q1. So look out for more of that in the near future. On the back of all of that, we won 30 different vendor and industry awards as a distributor in 2020. Many of them for the first time, some of them in really interesting combinations. As I said, cybersecurity has been an absolute hotspot for us. So I think for the first time, we won the most significant awards from both Palo and Checkpoint simultaneously. So that's really great evidence that our focus on cybersecurity and our response to that opportunity is proven to be really effective. So those awards are really for the whole team. They're for the whole business. So if you've had direct involvement in those programs, then congratulations and thank you. If you've contributed indirectly in some way, then again, thank you very much. The business is really, really appreciating what we're doing right now, and I think this is great evidence of it. So again, thank you. As I said in my introduction, Runa is now going to spend a little bit of time updating us on Voice of the Partner, both in terms of its goals and the progress the program is making. So Runa, over to you.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, I'm going to talk about Voice of the Partner this morning. And I think it's fair to say, partner feedback, customer satisfaction is quite a broad topic, and that is very true in an organisation as complex as Westcon. There are different ways that our partners engage and interact with us, and there are different ways to collect feedback. But overall, with this programme, we're looking to provide a structured approach in the way that we collect, analyse and report on, and importantly, act on partner feedback, with the goal to improve both partner experience, but ultimately our business performance. Voice of the Partner gives us the opportunity to understand what's driving partner satisfaction, but also look at insights that help us understand partner loyalty and partner retention. Given that it is such a broad topic, we've taken the approach to focus small and then build out and implement a range of feedback mechanisms in the different ways that partners engage with us. And what I'll talk mainly about today is how we're applying this on our digital platforms, looking at both the digital experience, but also operational measures and our effectiveness with our partners. I think this initiative is a good example of how we're taking both a digital first and a data-driven approach. We are using new technology in Usabilla, which we'll come on to in a moment, but also using that technology to help us understand the digital experience that we have with our partners, and obviously using the feedback and the data that we get from this to draw those insights that help us make decisions to improve the service and the quality of that experience with our partners. We are also looking to set up a kind of centre of excellence around Voice of the Partner, and within the central team develop out the skills that we have to make sure that we have the ability to craft and design surveys, to report and analyse them in the appropriate way, and to be able to help the business make the right insights and recommendations off the back of that feedback, and build out the community to support this. And this should help us both with our core Voice of the Partner programmes, but also in other customer feedback initiatives that we may want to run in the business. And ultimately, we're looking for that 360 view of the partner. Okay, so I mentioned about this structured approach, and I just wanted to touch a little bit about the kind of methodology that we're using when we're building out the Voice of the Partner program. And I think this is something that you can apply to any type of feedback initiative that you might run both with partners or internally. And it's built around this Ask, Analyse, Act approach. So starting off with Ask, we're really thinking about what are our goals, and it's really important to understand the objectives and the goals that we want to achieve. So what do we want to measure? Who are we going to target, and how is the most effective way to measure that? But as well as thinking about what we want to collect and ask our customers, we also need to think upfront about how we analyse that information, how we report on it, what insights are we going to draw, and how we're going to share that information with the right stakeholders in a timely fashion. So thinking about the types of reporting and dashboards that we need to provide that information through to the right stakeholders. And then the final piece in that is around action. So how do we make sure we prioritise the right actions and we can develop the appropriate improvement activities off the back of the feedback that we've got from our partners? And taking this insight, feeding that back into the ongoing development of our Voice of the Partner programme as we develop it and expand it. And I would recommend, as I said, kind of using this simple approach when you're thinking about any kind of feedback, both internally or with partners. So let's touch a moment just on the team. So Paul mentioned in his introduction, Michelle has joined the team, a great addition to our team, and she's now responsible for that central programme management and coordination of the Voice of the Partner activities. She's supported by Alan Bloom, which I'm sure most of you know. Alan's based in Singapore, part of our digital team. And Alan is going to be the super user, the technical expertise in implementing the Voice of the Partner feedback mechanism using Usabilla. And he's also pulling together the reporting that we're delivering through the programme. We're also building up a bit of a network and a community of regional Voice of the Partner stakeholders. They are looking at both the regional management of the Voice of the Partner activities, but also collaborating and providing feedback to the central team. And that's really important to understand how the current activities are working, but also to contribute to future development and form this Voice of the Partner community that I mentioned. So we've talked about Usabilla. I just wanted to explain a little bit about what the Usabilla toolset is and does. It's part of the SurveyMonkey group. Usabilla is a tool set that enables us to embed feedback mechanisms in any digital platform. So that could be the platforms that we see here, such as PartnerView, our websites, but also any asset. So we can now embed feedback directly into the platform, into emails and newsletters, anything that we think is useful to capture that engagement and feedback from our partners. And importantly, it enables us to get real-time feedback. So as well as that periodic feedback that we might be used to collecting through traditional surveys, we can now have a more always-on real-time engagement and feedback from our partners. And so initially, we're looking at PartnerView in terms of implementing this digital Voice of the Partner. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But the plan is very much to extend this to all of the platforms that we operate in the business. So next step will be Blue Sky, but we're also looking at how we embed this into our corporate websites and into our training platform in the Academy business. So in terms of what we're doing on PartnerView, there's three main areas that we're capturing feedback from partners. The first two really around performance of the site and that experience that our partners get when they're using PartnerView. So they now have the opportunity to provide feedback on any page within PartnerView, but also specifically on the search capability. And that's quite important both to our local teams, enabling them to understand how the partners are experiencing PartnerView, but also to our development teams as they are continuing to develop both PartnerView platforms and also future capability. And then the third point really is around that transactional experience. And we're looking to capture feedback on both the quote and order experience. And this is really critical to our local teams to be able to understand when we're doing a good job, but also when there are challenges, they're able to get back to the customer and support them around the quote and order engagement that the partners have with us. And so we just look here in a little bit more detail around how that actually works. And it's super simple. You can see here, this is taking feedback with the Usabilla tool set through that quote experience. You can see how it's embedded directly within PartnerView, but we're also aware that not all of our partners get their quotes through PartnerView currently. And so however the partner consumes that quote from us, whether it's an email, whether it's the Excel document, they have the same ability to be able to click on those stars and give that CSAT rating, and also provide any additional comments they want to. And as you can see there, really simple. Click on the stars, it pops up with that feedback form. They can rate us and just enter their comments in that feedback box. And so there's lots of information on this slide, but the important thing here really is that as well as being able to capture that CSAT rating and the comments, we're actually also able to pull through quite a lot of information around the customer transaction. So relating to specific partners and specific transactions. And that's important because our sales teams can then get really granular in terms of responding back to the customer. So as well as that aggregate view of how we're performing in terms of delivering quotations and orders and that transactional effectiveness with our operational effectiveness with our customers, we're also able to get very specific, and our sales teams, they're empowered with that information to be able to support the customers in an even better way. And so just to touch a little bit on reporting, the reporting through the programme is available both on demand and with scheduled reports. We are building out a suite of reports and also a dashboard that will provide different stakeholder groups the right information that they need to be able to track the programme. And so this can roll up into quite a simple executive view, but it also allows our teams to be able to really drill down, as I said, right down to that specific partner transaction. Okay, so just quickly then having a look at how we're doing in terms of rollout. We went live with PartnerView in the UK at the beginning of January, and last week we have activated all of the countries throughout the rest of Europe. So that's all up and running across Europe now. Next up is the Middle East and South Africa. And we're also in discussions with Rod and the sporting team in Australia and New Zealand, and we're hoping to launch across those regions in March. We've yet to start the conversations with Asia, but I'm hopeful that won't be too much further down the track. And in the early part of our new fiscal, we'll be live across the board with this feedback capability through PartnerView. Okay, so in terms of what's next, as I mentioned, this is just the start. We will expand this digital Voice of the Partner capability across PartnerView, but also across the other platforms that we operate. And we're also building in Voice of the Partner capabilities to any new partner platform development that's going on currently. That side of things is really looking at that digital experience and operational effectiveness. We're also looking in the new fiscal to start to think about how we can measure the quality of the relationships that we have with our partners through more qualitative surveys. And we'll be implementing and delivering global partner surveys through the course of the next year. Those will be the kind of core central programme deliverables, but we recognise that there may also be some additional partner intelligence initiatives. Now, they may be linked to a specific segment, a technologies area, a programme, a service, and using that capability in the Centre of Excellence and working with the community, we would like to be able to support the implementation and the operation of those partner intelligence initiatives as they come up. And so hopefully we'll see a much greater focus and a real impact from Voice of the Partner as we move into the next fiscal. If you do have any questions around Voice of the Partner, then please feel free to contact me directly, or indeed, if you want to be up to answer them today, then please do put them into the Q&A chat box, and I'd be happy to answer them as part of the panel session. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, I'm Bex. Thank you so much for coming on to the call today. I'm going to be updating you on two of our central marketing programs, so Venue and Empower. Obviously Venue we are live on here today, and I think many of you have seen other events operating through the Venue platform. And we've been focusing this year on developing training to make sure that we drive adoption through the business of Venue. And I'm excited to kind of talk to you about that. And then Empower, again, lots of you are familiar with and have been on and have started training, is our marketing training program. And it's obviously really specific to us at Westcon, to our tools, to the way that we work. And so a really good space to kind of find out all sorts of things. And so we spent the year getting lots of modules live and listening to your feedback and planning the year ahead. So let's start with Venue. Here we are, we've got 31 events to date. And obviously thus far, this has been really EMEA led. But I'm really excited to be working with a couple of you who are probably here today on the sales kickoff, on an external customer event. So really excited to kind of start seeing more Venue events from you guys as well. But as you can see, kind of a real split, external and internal events, slightly more external, but pretty much 50-50. Average satisfaction across events, and this is kind of what people pop in as their star rating at the end of a Venue event, is high. 4.7 out of 5 is great. And I'm going to be talking to you. Paul mentioned the Imagine EMEA event last week that welcomed over 1,000 people. And that's our second event that has welcomed over 1,000 attendees to the event. Which I think is such an awesome thing to kind of recognise, because in the real world where we're doing in-person events, it would be very rare to get that many people in the same space. So one of these benefits of virtual events is really engaging that many people at one time in one space. The really important thing to get out of this slide is the Venue modules that are live on Empower. And I know lots of you have already done these, but they are the best place to go for learning about the Venue platform and what you can do with it. So I really encourage you, if there is anyone else out there who's thinking we could use Venue for an event, or thinking about kind of briefing in an event, please do go and take those modules, because they'll show you the two most recent modules we've released just before Christmas, are the kind of design and build production type side of Venue. So really, really helpful to kind of get you an idea of what that all looks like and what you need to do. And then there's an email address there, but please do reach out and get in touch if you are interested. So we've mentioned Imagine EMEA, so I want to talk a little bit more about it. And I think a couple of you definitely came along for maybe not the full 3 days, but for a couple of days last week. So this was a 3-day event that was aimed at enabling the channel to understand and monetize the highest growth security markets, trends and disruption. And was a huge event. 1,019 unique attendees is really, really an awesome result. So great attendance there. It was the first event to use 3D video, and I'm going to show you on the next slide in a bit a little bit about that and how that's used. But that was a really big thing for us, a new feature to kind of really engage people and get people excited. 15 vendor sponsors were at the event, which meant there were tons of things to do. They used a treasure hunt to engage people, to make them move around the different sponsors. I'll talk about the treasure hunt feature in a minute as well. But so some kind of great amount of people investing in that event and being a part of that really big event. And then the kind of most important call out here is the really engaging content. And Paul's already mentioned how great it was, but obviously with virtual events, it's more important than ever to have really engaging content that grips people, because we're all looking at screens all day, and kind of that's our very normal, and trying to really engage people to make them think that this is something different is so important. And so I'd really, really encourage you, if you didn't attend, to go back and look at some of the content. Reach out to me if you didn't register for the Imagine event, because it's the same link, so just go back and see the recordings. But please feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you a link so that you can go back in, because some really, really insightful discussions. Those, especially kind of those 3 speakers mentioned there, and the panel discussions brought up some really interesting topics. So venue's kind of ever evolving, and obviously like the virtual event world in the past year has just grown and changed so much, kind of with all of the circumstances going on across the world. And so there's some new features that you might not be so aware of, including this 3D animation video that I was talking about. And you can see it on the top right there, the image, but it kind of can take you through this 3D experience. So you can enter the event as if you were entering a conference. You can move from breakout room to breakout room just to bring that kind of atmosphere. Again, I kind of talked about the changing from the normal Teams chats that we're on, or the normal video chats that we're doing. So that's a really cool new thing that we're starting to use in our events. Then last December, the UK Comstore team did a kind of very regional event, very small event, and did some wine tasting over venue, and delivered little wine packages to all of their attendees, and then we're able to sit over venue and kind of discuss the wines there. And so that's a really nice piece for if people are looking for those kind of really small country type events where the kind of personalization is a bit nicer. And then the treasure hunt I've mentioned, we've used this a couple of times now. Those of you who attended the Imagine Middle East event last year, and then the EMEA event last week. And this is the kind of idea, like when we were in live events and we had that exhibition hall, and you would have to go and scan QR codes at different sponsor booths to try and kind of drive attendance and drive people around the sponsor booths. This is that very similar idea. So we're asking you to go to the different sponsor booths, and then you achieve a medal or a kind of token to get you on the way to winning a prize. So it's to really encourage people to explore the event, but kind of it can go further than sponsor booths, because it relates to content, things that you're downloading or actions that you're taking across the platform. So that's a really cool way of engaging people. And then there's just more game options. Some of you will have played the game today, and there's more kind of options there, live quizzes and embedded whiteboards. So just more of the kind of gamification type stuff that we have been doing. So moving on to Empower, I first want to just say a big thanks for those of you who are engaging, because it's so good to see so many of you, and the feedback that we're getting is so great and so useful. So huge big thank you to all of you. So some stats for the past year: 20 modules live during the year, which is awesome. And kind of they're no small task creating these modules, because we're creating them so specifically to what we do. And so I think that's a really cool achievement. And we're continuing to release about 2 modules a month. So stay tuned for kind of what is coming next. We've got 69 marketing colleagues across the business who've started their Empower journey. I'm hoping that if there's some of you out there who haven't started, I'll have convinced you to start by the end of this. But please do get in touch. That email address up there, if you get in touch, we'll get you up and started. If you've got any colleagues in the business, any new starters, because we're getting a lot of feedback from people who are new to the business and who are then going through the modules and saying this is such a great way to be introduced to kind of everything that Westcon has on offer. So please do let me know if there are new starters or other people that might be interested in taking part. Great satisfaction across modules, again, really nice to see, and obviously kind of that differs from module to module, but really positive to see this kind of average, and 16 countries participating is awesome as well. So lots of different people accessing from lots of different places. So I wanted to show you what modules are available, because we've got a huge breadth of modules, from kind of marketing strategy, social media went live just a couple of days ago. Obviously, I've mentioned virtual events modules, kind of really digital planning and kind of digital strategy. And then those really technical about the different platforms that we have, analytics modules. And so there's tons here. I also wanted to mention, we released Intro to Social Media and Partner Journey earlier this week, and we actually are running a competition at the moment. So if you haven't seen already, if you complete Intro to Social Media and Partner Journey by next Friday, so that's Friday the 26th of February, you are up for the chance of winning a Poly Alara 60 with Voyager Focus UC headset, which is quite a bit of kit, and a really nice addition to your home office maybe. So please do get involved. It's the Intro to Social Media module and the Partner Journey module. Get into Empower and complete those before next Friday, and you'll be up for the chance of winning. I'll be sharing probably the week after who the winner is and getting you your fancy headset. So then I wanted to share some feedback on the next slide, because it's all well and good me saying that this is great, but actually lots of people are finding this really, really useful. And kind of you can look through some of these quotes in your own time, but the real thing that I wanted to kind of pull out is people saying that they're getting resources that are then useful in their jobs. And that's what we want to do. We're trying to prepare content that makes people's lives easier, that makes people feel more creative or innovative, or like they've got the right tools or a new way of looking at things. And so it's really, really positive to see that. I also, Runa was talking about Usabilla and Voice of the Partner, and we've got a little Usabilla widget on Empower as well. So if you do see that pop up, not only is it a good chance to kind of go and have a look at what that looks like, but also I'd love to continue to get more feedback, because it really is, we're creating these modules for you, and so we really, really want to hear from you about if that's useful, or if we can be doing anything else. And then I wanted to highlight the leaderboard, the top 10 leaderboard, because we don't often get a chance to do this and congratulate people. Now, I do apologise because this changes by the minute, so it might not look like this when you log out. So I apologise if any of you have creeped up that leaderboard. But it's awesome to see names of you guys here as well. And so, yeah, congratulations to everyone on that leaderboard. Congratulations too to the people that are not on that leaderboard and that keep creeping up and exchanging. I said that it changes a lot. But yeah, there is fun to be had to watch yourself on the leaderboard. So if you are a competitive person and want to get involved in Empower so that you can see yourself move up that leaderboard, then do. So now I'm gonna ask for you guys to get involved. I'm interested in what upcoming module are you looking forward to the most? And so we've got some options that are popping up. So if you're on full screen, just pop out of your full screen and have a little look onto the side to see, to type in your poll. Oh, we've already got some changing and some movement. So yeah, these are all modules that we're hoping to release. So hopefully they're all interesting to you, but what are you looking forward to the most? Okay, so a lot of content. This is good news. What else have we got creeping up there? Any last, oh yeah, here we go. Content strategy, great, great, great. So content strategy, I'm hoping is going to come up next. So that's really good to see. Yeah, and still a little bit of interest in social, of course. Best practice copywriting, great. Oh, a last minute. Keeps juggling around, doesn't it? Well, great. It's really good to see a spread as well, because all of these are modules that we're going to be releasing. Oh, look at that, zooming around. Thanks for engaging as well, guys. Thanks for plugging in your answers. Oh, we're still creeping. Okay. Cool. So it looks like content strategy is coming up on top. Thank you so much. Any questions, please do pop them in and I'll answer them later. And I'm going to hand over to Maria and Runa.
Thanks, Bex. Great update and good to hear the progress around both Venue and the Empower programs. So I am delighted now to welcome Maria Bretti to the call. Maria is going to join us and talk about some of the great work that she's been doing across the last year on the Small Business Initiative. So, morning, Maria.
Morning, Marina. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and lots to talk about. So hopefully I'll do a good job of consolidating the key points for everyone.
Okay, great. Thanks, Maria. So, I mean, I'm interested to know why small business. You know, Cisco is known really in the enterprise space. What was it that drew you to focus on small business in the beginning, and what were you hoping to achieve with the program?
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, actually. So, I mean, like any organization, Cisco likely had masses of research going on in the background. And from that research, they identified a great growth opportunity in the small business segment. And then, obviously conversations were happening from an organization perspective with us and Cisco. So it was towards the end of November that Cisco kicked off a launch in the US. Then that rolled out to Europe. And then early 2020, it rolled out globally. And I think, like you said, Runa, Cisco are known as being number one in the enterprise segment. So they wanted to be taken seriously across small business as well. And as part of that launch, they actually brought together a set of products and solutions, not necessarily new products and solutions, but they branded that as Cisco designed. And they just changed their approach on how they positioned those products and solutions to the small business market. I think it's a key point that, we are closely aligned to Cisco. Everything we do is Cisco. So Cisco's objectives kind of merged into our own. And if we just look at the next slide. Thank you. So our kind of key objectives were to innovate, simplify, and accelerate with a focus on our needs-based approach. So lots of investment came from Cisco, lots of marketing campaigns, and we very much tried to take the same approach with our campaigns, but the competition also get access to this, and we wanted to add our own Comstor spin on everything that we did. So our main goal was to combine Cisco's extensive expertise with the expertise of our own staff. And we'll go into some of the key successes of what's come from that shortly. If we go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what we wanted to do, and there was a lot happening initially, was to develop our kind of own brand, our own approach to this. We worked with some of our product specialists internally, some of our architecture leads, and we came up with what we refer to as the segmented C approach, which you saw on the previous slide. Our idea was to base everything we did, all of our campaign messaging, anything that came from us around the segmented C approach. And this really gave our partners an opportunity to tell a story of how they position the solutions and products to the small business market. So like I said, they weren't necessarily new products and solutions, but they were being positioned differently. And it was more about that needs-based approach. So we really wanted to facilitate at every stage. We wanted to make it simple and easy for partners to communicate and sell those solutions.
Yes, but a big initiative.
Sorry, Rina.
I just wanted to say, it sounds like you had some very clear goals and objectives at the beginning of this. And I know that there's been a wealth of activity delivered across the last year. Could you call out some of the highlights in terms of some of the campaigns and the deliverables?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also worth noting that as an aside to what I said about the competition having access to Cisco's materials, we wanted to be first to market. I'm sure everyone always sets that goal for themselves, but in many respects we were with these campaigns. If we look at the Stay Connected, Stay Productive campaign, that's kind of the 2.0 of the Stay Safe, Stay Connected campaign that Paul referenced earlier. And we really did take a needs-based approach with that, and we're still evolving that. And we're in talks about how we move forward, with lockdowns and restrictions being lifted. How do we change that messaging so that campaign still lives? It's been really effective. We've had some great leads off the back of it in a short space of time. If we look at Rocktober as well, again, that was a month-long promotional campaign from Cisco. They did provide us with masses of materials, but actually we came out to market with our own materials before Cisco. So again, we were first to market with that one. We saw a 6.9% average sales increase in that month of that campaign. So we were quite pleased with that. If we look at the Comstor Business Academy, that was a training program developed by Thomas Swinnon and Nico Vermeulen, our architecture lead and product specialist. Initially, we used the Comstor Business Academy to train staff internally, but now Thomas is providing train the trainer support so that can be delivered locally. And we'll be kicking off some of those sessions this quarter with partners. If we look at Meraki campaign in a box, that's a very good example of what we've also done with ScalePlay. So we've brought together all of the extensive materials from Cisco, but also our own valuable assets and put them into one campaign. Scale play, if I just touch on that very quickly, Paul mentioned that earlier, and actually Cisco came to us. It was a very nice needs-based approach again, but we've got so much going on in terms of promotions as well, so we try to bring that campaign together with the promotions and have them all sit under that one umbrella, so that the countries have only got one kind of campaign to execute on, but we're hitting 2 ticks with Cisco. So again, a very nice example of simplifying and putting our own spin on it, if you like.
Thanks, Maria. I mean, there's some great stuff in there. Obviously, the last year has been fairly turbulent in many ways for many organisations, and I wanted to know if you experienced any challenges as you sort of rolled out the initiative, and if you did, how did you go about overcoming them? Yeah,
sure. I mean, with every campaign, with every kind of focus, there are challenges, but we learn from them. And I think if we go back to the point earlier of there being so much content, we were really conscious of producing too much, and we very much still are, actually. So we've realised that local teams have got so much to execute on. We tried to combine campaigns into one to make things more simpler, but we were and very much still are conscious of that point. Initially, we did have to create quite a lot, and it was very much around that segmented C positioning, story and brand. But everything we've done since has been kind of off the back of that. So it's been a challenge, but it's also presented nice follow-on opportunities for us. There was, and there still are, concerns around Cisco being not suitable for small business. So you touched on the point of them being perfect for enterprise. A lot of partners and their end customers still perceive Cisco as being too large, too complex, too expensive. So we're actually just rolling out a simple campaign now, which we've referred to as Bust the Myths. So we've got a series of 6 videos. Within those videos, we try to disperse the common misconceptions around Cisco. And then COVID was another major one. So at the time, we were just launching Meraki Go, which is a networking portfolio for the small business segment. The problem with our launch was 1 week after the launch, most countries were going into lockdown, and a lot of those end customers were closing. So they are hairdressers, cafes. So unfortunately, that campaign didn't have as much traction as we would have hoped. But we have got some fantastic materials, which we're hoping to roll out at a later point again, with slightly refreshed messaging once things do return to some normality. So that's, yeah.
Well, I think, Maria, it's important that you were able to kind of course correct as you went along, and I understand that it was no mean feat trying to overcome some of those challenges. So well done. I do think I understand that you've had some good results though. So I wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing today some of the results that you've seen so far with the programme.
Thanks, Rena. Yeah, so I mean, I keep talking about the segmented C approach, but I think that was really us achieving our main goal of simplifying. So we've done a great job of simplifying how partners can position the solutions, and I think that really shows in some of our numbers and some of our achievements. In Q1, we started to receive some objective-based funding targets from Cisco, and that's really helped us to put focus on what is key, on those hyper-growth initiatives that are coming from Cisco. And I'm really pleased to say that since the Q1 rollout of this, we've achieved all of our OBFs. So we've achieved Q1, Q2, and now Q3. And we're on target for Q3. So some good results there. If we also look at the way we've been working with teams locally, so we developed our own small business community, and we've really seen some good, expertise sharing. So we've got we formed, if we call them tiger teams, we've worked closely with local marketing people, but also people from other roles across the company, so product specialists, to create some of our assets. And I think we can really see great results from that as well. So that's been awesome. And I just think overall, if we take a look at some of the campaigns we've just spoken about, we've done what we had set out to achieve. We've innovated, we've simplified, we've accelerated, and we saw those great results with Rocktober. We've seen some fantastic results with Stay Connected, Stay Productive, and likewise with Stay Safe, Stay Connected. And yesterday we actually came off a call with Cisco, and there was some good news that they're seeing great growth through distribution across that small business segment. So again, fantastic to hear from Cisco on that. So I think that kind of clearly, sets out our successes. So
yeah, some great results there, and fantastic to hear the positive feedback from Cisco as well. So well done for that. But you're not finished with small business, right? The program's continuing. So could you just share with us what's coming up next?
Yeah, sure. So as far as I can see, it's going to continue to be a focus for at least the next 2 quarters, but obviously that's what I'm privy to seeing, but it may continue longer, and I hope it does. We need to really take a look at what we've done. We need to improve, learn, optimize, and just continue doing great things, really. And we can definitely do that with our small business community. So our learning from other members of the Comstor team really helps us there. We will continue our close alignment with Cisco, and we hopefully will continue to see green on the numbers charts and that growth. But we're really, really excited to announce that we will be hard launching our portal. So if you've not yet had a chance to log into the portal, you should have received an email from us last month. We did roll out our soft launch at the end of January. So hard launch will be going ahead at the beginning of March, so in a couple of weeks' time. But that's really going to be key for small business. There's a great small business focus area. We've got a what we're referring to as a product configurator. So the partners can go on there, they can select the needs of their end customers, and then they'll be presented with a selection of solutions and products suitable for a secure network. So at the moment, it will be networking and security focused, but we're looking to evolve that to include data center and collaboration solutions. So that's going to be a key kind of digital move forward for us. So we're really looking forward to that.
Great. Thanks. Thank you so much, Maria. It's been really, really great to hear about all the good things you've been doing with the Small Business Initiative, and I know you've got, you've got some good stuff coming up as well. You're going to stay with us for our Q&A panel. So if anybody does have any questions for Maria, I know she's happy to answer them as part of the panel discussion, which is what I think we're going to move to next. So thanks very much, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're all back in. So we do have a few questions coming in on the Q&A panel. So I'll probably lead those off and direct them to the appropriate person as we go through. So the first question we had, and Bex, I think you did touch on this, but a bit of detail would be helpful maybe, is we've got a colleague who wants to participate in the Empower program. So how do I join them up? And I've seen this a lot actually, and I think I had a question from Patrick Aronson just a couple of weeks ago, and Patrick was saying, well, who's it for? And of course, directly it is for marketing professionals, but anybody that's thinking of planning or commissioning marketing activity could benefit from engaging in the program. So Bex, how do they get involved?
Yeah, definitely. And you're so right with that, Paul. It doesn't just have to be marketing. If there is anyone interested, you can reach out directly to me or at that email address that was m-power@westconcomstore.com. So either reach out directly to me, we just have to join you up, and then you'll be ready to go, ready to become an Empower champion.
And I guess, Bex, once they're in there, it's pretty intuitive and easy to use. So it's not like you need further support to find your way around it or use the modules.
Not at all. Really, really easy. They're separated into different tracks, and you just kind of go in. You get little trophies every time you complete a certain area, so you'll be able to see that. And yeah, really easy to use.
Great. And Bex, you've had an impact today because a lot of these questions are coming to you first off. So the other question was on the other part of your portfolio today, which was, I'm thinking of running a venue event. What steps do I need to take? Now, of course, I'm going to say do the Empower training as step one, but what else goes beyond that?
Yes, and funnily enough, I was going to say the same, Paul. Definitely do the Empower training as your first port of call, but then reach out to me. We set up a briefing with the team so that we can talk through what exactly that event looks like, and then it will be all smooth sailing from there. Please do leave adequate time for planning, just as you would if you were planning an event out in the real world. So we ask for at least 6 weeks advance notice before that briefing period. So do really allow yourself some time, just because it's virtual and so it feels like it might be quicker and easier to put on. We really need to make sure that that content is as good as possible and as slick as possible, and obviously you can see that Venue itself has a design aspect to it, and to the kind of different features that are needed, so it does need that dedicated time and planning, so do allow some time out. So Empower training, and then still 6 weeks out, come and get in contact with me, and we'll get that briefing and that process moving.
Yeah. And I can't stress enough that, I mean, this notion of getting enough notice, and this idea that because it's online or virtual, it's somehow, you know, just plug in and go. I think in many ways, particularly on those very large events, you really have to do your planning in a very concise and detailed way. So that's a great recommendation. We've got a further question on events, Bex, just before we let you go. And actually it relates to something I said in my opening remarks. So if you don't mind, I'll start off on this one. Maybe you could add some detail to it. Will we be able to support hybrid events in future? And of course, the concept of a hybrid event, I think we understand it, is that you would be combining a degree of virtual and online presence with some physical presence in a traditional venue with an E, to stage a potentially quite a large scale event. And there's been quite a lot of interesting coverage on this in various media places recently. And I think the idea is a very interesting one, because clearly, as we emerge from this situation, some people will have fewer restrictions than others. So we may find, for very tactical reasons, we have to stage hybrid events, as well as, if they do become the norm, there are clearly some economic advantages to doing it as well. The one thing that is obvious is that in this particular virtual event, of course, we're all sitting at an individual endpoint at our laptops or whatever, our phones, to attend today. In a hybrid environment, the likelihood is that those endpoints might be large rooms or even larger scale theatre type venues. So clearly the audio visual aspect of that part of the delivery of a hybrid event would really have to be thought through. And it suddenly struck me that that's an area that we will need to think about in terms of future training and development if we're going to pursue that idea. But I just wondered, Bex, whether you've seen any other interest in that, or you've heard, I know you've been doing some research recently around virtual event delivery. Does this hybrid model have legs? And if so, how could we support it possibly?
Yeah, it definitely has legs, I think. And as Paul was saying, the world is changing in so many different areas at different speeds and different times. So it might be that in some places this becomes reality a lot quicker than others. I think we're doing a lot of work into making sure that we've got a kind of proposition around a hybrid event and what that would look like, and making sure that we know how we can kind of execute that. And so I would encourage you to get in touch if that is something that you're thinking about for the future, so that we can have a look at that. There's definitely appetite for it. We saw a hybrid event back in I think it was just when I joined, so it was like September time. So it is something that we have kind of done and dabbled into, but we definitely need to kind of think about how that works and what that looks like going forward. There's definitely still going to be appetite for virtual events as well. I don't think that's going to die out anytime soon. So I really can see that will continue as well.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Thanks, Bex. That's great input. So, Rena, we've got a question here on feedback that we have from partners so far on PartnerView. And I know that it's been a fairly narrow sample to date based on the pilot. But could you add a little colour around what kinds of feedback and what kinds of ratings we've been seeing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as you said, it's relatively early days. The majority of the feedback we've got so far has come from the UK pilot. And it's been a mix, to be honest with you. So we've had some really fantastic feedback around some of the service and individuals that have supported our customers. We've also had some feedback where partners have had challenges, and Actually, not surprising in the UK, some of that was related to Brexit and the challenges customers are experiencing there. So a known issue, but also actually it's good to hear from our partners. And when we know they're having issues, we can get back to them and give them that extra level of support. We have also received some feedback around PartnerView capabilities and functionality, and we've been passing that back through to the platform team. So early days, but whether the feedback's been very positive or there's been challenges, I think it's really important for us to get that feedback and to be able to respond to it appropriately.
Yeah, that's exactly the purpose of it. So it's not just a tick box exercise. This is about really, responding and understanding and applying remedies where needed to the things that customers are telling us. And of course, great news is always welcome, but when things are not going so well, we need to be able to respond to that in the right way.
Yeah.
So Maria, clearly your sessions had a big impact because there's a whole raft of questions here around Comstore and small business. If I can combine the first two, let's go through them in order, I guess. What's the main small business marketing focus right now? So in the immediate future, what's happening with small business?
Thanks, Paul. So we've actually received some incremental funding from Cisco around a new offer that they've brought to the plate. So that offer is called Secure Remote Work. It's a combination of collaboration and security products, and it's basically all under one SKU. So partners can order that kind of solution through CCW with one SKU, and they can pick and choose, and that is a low monthly cost for small business customers. So it's a massive focus for Cisco. We've received some incremental to raise awareness around that. So we are focusing quite a lot on that. There's different things going on. We've got a campaign. It's encompassed within Stay Connected, Stay Productive. We've also got a separate series of short webinars coming from the team as well. So that's our kind of main focus right now.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm actually going to jump down the queue a couple of questions because somebody asked a specific question around secure remote work offer, making the point that it's not necessarily that much of a discount for partners. So why do we feel Cisco's focused on this? I mean, my guess would be because it's highly topical in the current circumstances, but can you explain a little bit more about why Cisco and Comstore are focusing on that particular application area?
Yeah, definitely. And it's highly topical. I think we also need to point out that there's the ease of ordering. So they enter one SKU. The collaboration solution is mandatory, but the security solutions they can pick and choose. And it is a very low monthly cost for those small business end customers, so it's quite appealing to them. Aside from that, we did pose that question to Cisco because we did get a few concerns from members of the team around that discount being so minimal. And Cisco's answer was, this isn't about the discount. This is about presenting that cross-sell conversation. And it's just that. So like you said, it's very topical, and it just gives sales that opportunity to have a cross-sell discussion.
Yeah, that's a good point. And on that secure remote work sort of use case, I'm not sure if people in the group will be aware, but we recently signed a distribution deal with a business called Realware, who provide kind of ruggedized headset equipment that Cisco have actually approved. It's a kind of Cisco endorsed partner solution, and it means that those remote lone workers have got effectively an integrated audio device, which also complements things like augmented reality and field engineering type services. So again, as you start thinking about that remote work offer, look out for that Realware proposition and think about how that could be combined into that solution as well. Just a couple more questions on small business, Maria. You talked about Stay Connected, Stay Productive as a neat kind of evolution of the original Stay Safe, Stay Connected thinking. So what's the objective there?
I think we just wanted to, at the time, we were very quick to market with Stay Safe, Stay Connected. The objective with Stay Connected, Stay Productive was that kind of evolution of it. So, we're still in this new normal. We didn't want to use that word, but we very much are. And it's going to continue for a short while longer, hopefully only a short while. Our objective with that was that Cisco were coming to us with a lot of campaigns around flexible working, remote working, secure working, the new normal. And again, we realized that our local marketing teams have got so much to execute on that it just wasn't viable for them to be going out with the same message, just a different kind of way of positioning it. And Cisco were calling this sales plays. They were calling it scale plays. They were calling it business resiliency. So we just took some of that messaging and we encompassed it within Stay Connected, Stay Productive, because, you know, we're very much closely aligned with Cisco. We need to execute on their key messages, but we just felt that it was quite repetitive and we wanted to make it simple. So that was our main objective there.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for explaining. Unsurprisingly, the remaining 3 questions are all about how can people get hold of this great material, right? And the assets that have been developed. So, you know, there are 3 questions here, and just to get to one of you, where can we find the Comstor Cisco campaign assets mentioned earlier? And there's, as I said, huge interest in that from 3 different questioners.
Perfect. Great to hear. You can access all of the materials on our EMEA Comstor Hub. Most of which, if you navigate down the left-hand navigation panel and go to small business, they should all be there. If you also navigate to security, you'll see a subsection for scale play, but anything to do with Meraki Go or small business in general will be on that small business area of the site. Anything related to architectures in particular will likely be subsections of the architecture pages, but feel free to reach out to me if you can't find what you're looking for.
Great, thank you very much. And thanks to all our panelists and indeed to our questioners as well. Really good range of questions there, showed that people understood what was being said and wanted to follow up. So if there's any outstanding questions that you want to bring to any of the panelists here, then please make sure you do. And of course, there'll be a recording of the event today as well for subsequent reference. Okay, thanks everybody. So let's move on to our next section, which is the game winner. As you know, Venue, as Bex pointed out, provides a great deal of interactivity with games, quizzes, and so on. And while you've had a short wait for us to get the event up and running today, I'm sure many of you participated in the game that was available online. I'm very pleased to say that the winner of the game, which we'll do a big reveal on, is Mel Andy. So congratulations. No prize for this one, just bragging rights with the team. It's interesting that we see the same names often cropping up on the game winners on these community calls. So obviously we've got some particularly bright and very nimble-fingered people out there who are great at these online games. But congratulations, Mandy, you're the game winner this time around. So we've now got a bigger prize, which is our customary MarketStar Recognition Award. I talked earlier in my introduction about the new arrivals and movers within the marketing organization that we've had in the last few weeks. And it's always encouraging to get new talent in and have new people joining the business, bringing new skills and experiences into our organization. But it's particularly encouraging when they prove to have significant impact very quickly. So when I reveal the winner of this quarter's MarketStar Award, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm very pleased to announce that our winner of the APAC MarketStar Award for this quarter is, let's do the reveal. David. David Lim joined us fairly recently, as I'm sure you're all aware, but by common acclaim by his colleagues, he's been voted the MarketStar for APAC for this current quarter. So David, congratulations. Thanks for all your efforts. And there'll be the usual $50 Amazon voucher on its way to you as soon as possible. Thanks again. So I wanted to wrap up the session today with a quick word about how we see our FY22 strategic initiatives. And for me, the way in which we want to work with you as a team and as a wider organization really falls down to 4 main categories of activity or initiative. The first is that we're getting a significant opportunity, I think, to tell our story better through our brand and our communications. Now, this doesn't imply that we're going to make some revolutionary change to the way that we visualize our brand identity or the way that we position ourselves in the marketplace. But we do need to get better at doing it. So it's not about revolutionary change, it's about improvement in the way that we tell this story. And you'll see emerging from the central team and in collaboration with the regional teams, some more consistent content and storytelling around the purpose of the Westcon Comstor business and how we want to relate to the market. There's some very interesting research coming out, which we'll share down in future calls, around how enterprises that very consistently define their purpose and relate to the market in ways other than just making a profit tend to be much more effective as businesses, both in terms of profitability, growth, talent retention, and so on. So we see that as being a key goal for us as a complete organization. The second area is what we term value proposition development. And by that, we don't mean our vendor portfolio. Of course, our vendor portfolio is completely strategic to us, and it's an area that we have to continue to invest in, whether it's looking into new initiatives with existing vendors or extending that vendor portfolio with new vendors through programs like NGS. Our value proposition is the things that we do with that vendor portfolio, the things we do around that vendor portfolio to create value for our partners and for our vendors. So the researching, the development, and the selling of those things, those services in particular, that our partners need from us to be successful is a key focus for the marketing group. And you'll be hearing more about the way in which we do that and how we want to encourage the rest of the business to think in a methodical way about value proposition development. How we bring those to market is a key element of our activity for the new year. Perhaps the core area of activity is this digital first marketing. And already, as you've seen, with the use of things like Usabilla for voice of the partner, the adoption of Marketo as our new marketing automation tool as a replacement for Pardot, the way in which we're going to support social media through digital tooling, even fairly tactical things like translations are now having a digital solution applied to them. So there's a very strong need for the whole of the marketing organization and for our colleagues that work around us in planning and commissioning marketing activity to embrace digital first, to embrace digital tools and the thinking that goes with it in delivering really outstanding partner experiences. And you've already seen some evidence of that today in our presentations and discussions. We're going to be putting our foot to the floor this year in terms of really making sure that digital first becomes the mantra by which we do our work. One of the benefits of digital, finally, is that it drives great data, and in turn, data informs our decision making around digital. And I want us as an organization to get obsessive about using the data available to us to improve what we do, to measure it, to communicate it. The use of visualization tools as a means to communicate our progress and our results is a really effective tool for us to use as we sell our value to our business and onwards to our partners. And having done that, we go back, we use the data to improve again. So we look at continuous marginal improvement in our operations on the basis of what the data is telling us. And we're going to come back in subsequent sessions and explain what we mean in more detail by each of these initiatives. But those, for me, are the key areas that we want to focus on in the new year. But we'd also like to hear from you on what you believe your immediate focus is as well. So as you've been planning with your budgets, your programs for FY22, which is nearly upon us, we just want to take some time here using the word cloud functionality in Venue to ask you, what are your top priorities in FY22? So let's move to the cloud and see it construct. Just enter your 1 or 2 word answers to your top priorities in FY22. We're actually using, to start with, the results that we saw from our EMEA community call earlier this week. So you'll see some data already in there, but please take this opportunity using the chat window to enter your responses to the question, what are your top priorities in FY22? Just 1, 2, or 3 brief words would be enough. And we'll pause briefly to let that build. Unsurprisingly, lead generation looks like it's coming to the fore. Lead gen looks like being front and center, which I kind of expected. I know in my conversations with many of my my colleagues over there in Asia Pacific, lead generation is nearly always at the beginning of the conversation. So I'm not entirely surprised to see that there. And probably a close second, end user lead generation, and also it's kind of complementary expression there, data-driven marketing. I mentioned earlier the use of intelligent demand to really support that idea of end user demand generation. And I think again we'll see ways to connect those two things in the near future. So I suspect that that's pretty much built. We'll reflect on that as we think about future events, and in particular, last but not least, we have a global marketing event. What we're terming our global marketing kickoff is scheduled for the 11th of May, towards the end of Q1. So we're going to come back to you to get further input on the things that you would like to see reflected in that event. But that will be an opportunity to really build on the topics that we've put in front of you as part of these recent community calls, drill down a little bit on what we see as being the necessary operational detail of how we're going to pursue some of those goals, but also have some fun. All right, it's not all about the details of the work. We want to use the capabilities of Venue as a platform, as well as the creativity that our team members can apply to these things to create a really interactive, engaging, and fun event for you to help us build a better team and make progress in the coming year. Before we close, I'd just like to ask you to remember to fill in the survey that will appear again to the right of your screens on Venue. We really value your feedback. It helps us enormously in thinking about how to structure these events in future, as well as thinking about this global marketing event in May as well. So take time to engage with us, give us your feedback, give us further questions, and we look forward to working with you on this and further events in the years to come. Just remains for me to say thank you very much for attending today. Thank you to our speakers and our panelists. I hope you found it engaging and useful. Let's keep the conversation going, both in Venue and in our direct interactions with each other in the near future. Thanks, and enjoy your evening.